What's going on? It's your man, DJ Big Mike. This is Beyond the Tracks podcast, your podcaster's favorite podcast. People. I got some special guests in the building today. We're going to have fun. It's a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy going on today. First, we have Kim Ruiz. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Man, I'm good.
You are good.
And we got the one and only Chris Brown. Yes, the Chris Brown, a.k.a. Breezy, in the building. We got special guests today, right? Man, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell the folks what you do, why you're here, that kind of stuff. Kim, go ahead. We're going to start off ladies first.
All righty. I am Kim Ruiz. I am currently the case worker at Oaks of Righteousness Christian Ministries.
You get the horns.
I also work at Monroe Nutrition. So an Herbalife distributor. And I do have a business named Common Ground Connection to work with individuals to be the encourager on mind, body, soul, to get to the next levels of where they would like to get.
Nice. Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris Brown.
Other than being a singer, rapper, dancer.
Yes, sir.
What else do you do?
Mostly those things.
Okay.
But in my spare time, I'm the volunteer manager for Ypsilanti Meals on Wheels. I've been involved in the nonprofit sector in Washtenaw County for almost 10 years. Prior to that, I was with Habitat for Humanity of Huron Valley. And I've lived here in Monroe for almost a year, and I'm a very interested citizen.
You get the horns.
Guess what? I got to tell Chris something.
Go ahead.
I'm a Habitat homeowner.
No way.
I am.
Great.
For 11 years. This is my 12th year, so.
That's awesome. Love it.
Cheers to y'all. Mm-hmm. So, Kim, we're going to start out with you. Just tell us what's going on with the organizations you work with and for, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, how about we start with Common Ground?
Common Ground.
So I'm still, a little bit up and running, but I have had the business since, name since 2012. But, I'm a firm believer in God's timing and certain things. And so I do a Know Your Worth session with that and goal setting. And I want to start taking that out to businesses, actually, to work with individuals to be able to invest into themselves.
So, like, when you say businesses, you mean like take it to a corporate, on a corporate level?
Corporate. Actually, I was talking with Jillian from, Amaya's, and I wanted to get with the women to work on mind, body, soul of taking that time, because in society today, it's busy. And one of the biggest things I learned last year is I needed to invest in myself, or I wasn't going to be able to invest in anybody.
Facts.
We cannot give our best to society if we are not taking care of ourselves.
Yes. I always say one of my big things is when you're on an airplane, what do they say? Put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. And that's very true. Like, you have to, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. Right. So and I definitely appreciate that.
And I think we live in such a busy society today that people are getting so caught up. And then after COVID, it's just affected a lot of stuff, and so... I'm very, in tuned.
Right.
So I felt like I was getting lost in the shuffle.
Right.
So I said, let me take some time to invest in me, and I did all last year.
So for some of the people that don't know you, like break some of that down of like how you started to take care of yourself. Kind of how your mindset changed, because I've seen that mindset change over the last few years that I've known you, and I think it's great. I think you have great energy. So just break that down just a little bit.
So during COVID, I've worked all through COVID at a very high, intense shelter, homeless shelter, and would go home after work, and you can't do anything. No one could go anywhere. I probably watched more movies than I had my whole life. And I was just sitting there, and it's not me. I'm very busy. I raised 3 kids by myself. I've always worked 2 or 3 jobs. And I think it just started to do something, not only to my mind, but to my physical, to my spiritual. I gained a lot of weight. I just wasn't busy. So at the end of 2021, I said, enough is enough.
Okay.
Enough is enough. I need to take care of me. My kids are older. Mm-hmm. They still need me.
Of course.
Very much so. And I've always, for 21 years, have worked in the community and working with other individuals, especially in low-income families, to help navigate stuff. So Here I am, and my job has never been a 9-to-5 job. My phone's always been open to people. I've always, getting messages, just navigating, just helping people. I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as, it's just my purpose.
It's your purpose.
So with that, I'm like, okay, Kim, here you are.
Right.
So I talked to someone, and they gave me some information on some eating, and then started showing me some things on exercising, and I ran with it.
Okay.
And
I might need a little bit of all that.
and I think that it's important, and that's why I was talking about mind, body, soul.
Right.
Because in order for us to fully function, I know when I'm like, I just got to, even if it's a walk, even if it's going on the treadmill for a minute, even if it's just a quick cardio or quick strength, it gives you a breather.
Right.
And so that's what I did. So I'm going to say how important that is. Let me tell you how important when you're dancing it up and rapping it, Chris. In November, the end of, 2022, I did Homeless Awareness Week and the holidays, and a lot of stuff started happening, with the Oaks. And I'm like, what the heck? If you're not careful, you'll get caught back up.
Right.
That's where wisdom comes in. So I'm really just trying to be wise.
I love it.
Because we are important.
Yes. And I think that's information that everybody can definitely soak up. And even if you just start and take little pieces of it, I think that's great for people. So we'll definitely get back to, because I got a lot of things for Kim. We know that. But we're going to take it over to the real Chris Brown, Monroe's Chris Brown. Tell a little bit about what you do, how that impacts. And then after that, I'd like to get into just community. So
Yeah, sure. So like I mentioned, I'm the volunteer manager for Ypsilanti Meals on Wheels right now. I've been with, I'm going to say YMOW going forward, just because that's a lot fewer syllables. So I've been with YMOW for about 6 months now. I'm responsible for mostly just making sure we have enough volunteers to get food out the door to folks. We've got about 250 clients in the eastern Washtenaw County area. We deliver meals 3 days a week, every other day, basically. And so we send 4 meals out to every client on each of those delivery days, just so that'll see them through the delivery day, the next day, and then we see them again the following day. Prior to that, like I mentioned, I was with Habitat for Humanity of Huron Valley. I was the home buyer services manager there, so I was responsible for basically marketing our home ownership program, approving applications, working with people on their credit and debt management. And that's really what I've tried to make a career out of, is public service. I'm really proud of the work that I've done at both organizations. But now that I live here in Monroe, my partner and I, we bought a house almost a year ago here in Monroe, just outside of downtown. And now that we live here, I really want to see what I can do in the Monroe community, because I think there's a lot to offer here. I think it's a very interesting city. There's a lot going on here. And I really just want to roll up my sleeves and be a part of that.
Yeah, I think when we first met, that was like our first conversation. It's like we got on community service for some reason,
Right
like really
away.
quick, but we clicked super, super quick. And it's been a year, but you are a very, very great friend, and I appreciate so much so many of the things that you do. I love your interest in Monroe. We always talk about our city. We love this city. And I know you came from the Ypsi area, Ann Arbor area. So it's great to have like new people come into the city, looking at the city, saying, man, I wonder why they don't have this, or I wonder why they don't have that. And I think like you're a great set of eyes. Let's say that. Yeah. So just speaking on community and everybody who watches or listens to this podcast, you know how much I love this city. Monroe is my city. And I rep it strongly. I don't give a damn what anybody else says. If you don't like it, there's a lot of other cities you can move to. So Kim, can we jump in just real quick about the issues? I want to hit those right off the bat.
All right.
Going on with Oaks, I know you're a huge part of that. You've been working with them for a while. Just can you talk about that and some things that are going on out there in them streets, as we say?
Right. So obviously Oaks of Righteousness is a homeless shelter. When you have a homeless shelter, you have several different needs that are going on. The biggest need right now is mental health. And my pastor's been asking for, mental health services, to be present. Because
I think you could say her name. We
Pastor
love her.
Boone.
All right.
She's been asking for mental health services to be present in the East Side community. I don't think it's necessarily, it has to be at our location, but to navigate
So just
services.
somewhere for those people to go, no matter where it is.
Right. I've been working in the community for 21 years, so I've worked at the Community Action Agency. I've worked at Paula's house. Like you, I'm very invested in the city. It's my heart. Yeah. It's that, I've grown up here my whole life. Outer skirts of the city, Frenchtown Township, but still, I love the fact that we're a small hometown community and that a lot of people give into it. I think I take pride in that.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, being there for 9 years now, I think it's about
has it been that
9
long?
years at Oaks.
Wow. Golfers clap to you.
It's like 8 or 9 years. Like you just lose track after, what we're finding right now are individuals aren't ready to be housed. So for me, I came there to assist people with navigating the services to get their documents. That comes natural to me. I've been doing that for so long. It's just like, okay, let's blah, blah, blah. Right. You got to go here. And then working with them to what the future holds for them to get housed. And my goal was always to do life skill classes. We can't do that right now.
Right.
The individuals that are coming through the shelter have more of a broad of issues, even if we gave them a house right now.
Right.
They're not.
So they don't have the mental capacity to maintain.
Right. So navigating that service is extremely hard because if an individual needs substance abuse substance abuse help or mental health help, we don't have a crisis center. So in order to get those services, it might take a lot longer than it should. And by time that happens, it can be too late for several different reasons.
Yeah.
Suicidal, overdose, I'm not ready now. I'm not,
Right.
Several different reasons. Okay. And so Pastor Boone has been asking for this for a long time, just can we get this? Can we get this? And so I think.
And she's not asking for money. She's asking for the actual service, the person to come in. Okay.
Yes. She's actually asking for the service to be provided to individuals of what they get funded for.
Right. So I think like that's some of the things that I've heard just in my comings and goings. Like people are always, well, how much money does she need? She has this, she has that, she has the clinic, she has the store. Like how much money does she need? And I kind of relate to people and I go, well, I don't think it's money.
Yeah.
I think she has the money. She needs the service. The person.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this. The Lord is our provider. We are a ministry, so I'm going to say that.
For sure.
It's not like we have, millions of dollars flowing through our agency at all. Our community has been a huge backbone with donations and, when there's always providing. We get one main grant.
Okay.
That comes from the state, which it's a Salvation Army grant that's been split between the shelters. We're not the only one that receives it. Salvation Army receives some of that fund. Philly House receives
See, like
some
I
of
didn't
that
know that.
fund.
I thought it was all
So
individual.
we get like around $203,000, and it pays 11 of our employees. You go ahead and do the
I don't need to.
Right.
I'm good at math. I hope our people are too.
Yep.
It's not a lot. I'll just say
that. And so the rest of it is donation. We do operate. People volunteer their time. The clinic volunteers their time. There was things that were provided for us to be able to have that stuff. You know, just different. And there's backup. Everything with that. So she's not asking for the money. Bring something over there when there's a crisis that we are able to have our individuals get the service right there.
Right.
We are a drop-off point, which is fine. We are a shelter.
When you say that, explain that to people.
I'm going to break that down. So when someone is in the psychiatric unit and they're getting released and they don't have a place to go, they call us.
Okay.
We take them. When the police find someone walking down the road that don't have a place to go, whether they're from here or not, they bring them to us.
Okay.
When someone's released from the jail and they don't have a place to go, they're told to come down to us.
Right.
Because we're the low barrier shelter. So like Salvation Army is a family shelter. Mel can, dictate who he wants to bring in and who's not. That's his, his shelter. That's his choice, but we are a low barrier shelter. We're the only ones that will also take a sex offender. Where there's several different, things that operate at our shelter that allows us to be a low barrier where we can bring them in for these, for this. Or if it's 2:00 in the morning and someone comes pounding on the door and.
As working as a nurse for the last 30 years, like, I've seen that too. I never really understood it. That's why I wanted you to kind of break it down for people, because people think drop off is one thing. Because I thought it was just like you drop them off on the corner or wherever they tell you, right? But no, it's two shelters. It's different places. The problem that I've always seen is even in nursing, we've done that and we haven't even prepared the person for that. It's basically, your rehab is done. You're as strong as you're going to get. You can go home. Right. Oh, you don't have a home? Here, we know where you can go. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, just like with the police and with everybody else, you can't just release a person to the streets. You have to release them to a safe environment, right? So they consider homeless shelters a safe environment, where a lot of times, like I've asked social workers that I work with, have you researched this homeless shelter? You're sending a patient to a place. Have you researched this? Right. And they'll tell you yes, but their research is, I clicked on Google and got their address, which I don't, it's not fair to patients. It's not fair to people. Right. It's, at least take a couple of days to see if this place is actually an appropriate setting for this person. We do it all the time, especially with the elderly. If the elderly says they want to go home, they go out to their home. They check things out. They make sure they have the things that they need, right? But when it comes to a person who's homeless, they don't have that home to go check out. So they just go, oh, we're going to put them here. And then what happens, I'm sure what happens, is a month later, they're back with us because they've fallen down some steps or they've fallen on the ground or what have you. So I get that. And it's a sad process, but I'm glad that we have places like yours that can handle that. I just wish we had more, just like everything else. I wish we had more revenue, more help, more people that want to get into that field. So I encourage people to go to school, go into that field if you want to take care of people.
Yes. And so the thing with that is we have turned into the psychiatric unit, the hospital, probation and parole are also parole to us. If they don't have anything, they have tethers, they got to charge, and then they're coming in, were they there last night? So it's like we're parents and overseers and, and we don't get funded for that. We're not receiving, no contract, a subcontract to take care of certain things that people are getting paid to do.
Is any of that billable, like through insurances, if they had insurance, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, what have you? Is any of the services?
There would have to be some kind of contract probably, but it would have to be with the, so when someone has a grant,
Right.
they would have to figure out, a way to subcontract that out for those kind of services.
But
So
you
I'm
guys,
sure-
you guys are not in the position to take insurance claims at this point.
Not absolutely not.
Okay.
And then also, we have monitors that are there. We're open 24/7. So our monitors are the ones really dealing. I mean, during the day when we're there and we're dealing with stuff, but it's our night monitors that are really, our day monitors deal with stuff, but our night monitors, that's when it's like, this is how I've explained it.
That's when it jumps off.
Yes, this is how I've explained it. At school, your kid is going to be different than they are at home. You're not going to get to know that person for who they truly are unless you get to know them. So it's relationship building. And that's what I was trying to explain to the network the other day. I'm like, all of us, we're a body, like someone said, I'm the chair of this body. You're right, we're a body, and each body doesn't function the same way. So the shelters are establishing relationships and getting to know the individuals, to know their needs, which then we need to be able to navigate them to the services that you provide in the proper way.
Right.
We can't just house them.
Right.
And then...
Yeah, it's a little more than just getting a person a place.
And is the landlord willing to rent to them?
Right.
Do they have evictions? Do they have felonies? There's so many, or we can't just put them in a hotel for 30 days. And then what are you going to do with them after that?
Right.
When this, if we were to close and you say you're going to get them housed, what about all the ones after the 30 that are there right now?
Right.
Do you have an idea how many people you serve annually? How many people go through your doors?
Oh, yeah, but Pastor would probably have to give you that number right now because there's been numbers flying all over the place right now. But, yeah, we have that. Definitely
Yeah,
have that.
it's
because-
extensive.
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris, just hearing kind of what you've heard, and I know you've been dealing in community service in other parts of the state for quite a while as well. Like, do you see the same things in Washtenaw, Wayne, and things like that, the underfunding or the understaffing or the inappropriate staffing? Like, do you see that kind of stuff? Like, how would you rank that to kind of some of the things that you've seen and heard here in Monroe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't even shy away from saying that the biggest problem is always going to be resources. It costs money to deliver these services, especially to deliver them well. I can't think of a single nonprofit that would ever say that, yeah, we're fully funded, we're good, we don't need this extra help of any sort. The clients that we serve at Meals on Wheels, we don't ever turn anyone away for an inability to contribute financially to receiving their services. We do ask clients to contribute approximately $3 per hot meal that they receive, but that doesn't come even close to covering our costs. It's just a little bit to supplement, and often it also makes the client feel good that they're contributing to receiving services. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to what it costs to deliver these services. But we don't turn people away because they're not able to pay. We just find other ways to pay for it. And I'm sure that at Oaks it's the same way. I imagine you probably don't ask the people that come through your doors for anything, right?
No, we want them to use that as that time there to prepare to go so that they're ready. So we feed them, we do their laundry. They have a roof over there. They're not paying for that. And so that's where the hardest part comes in, I think, is because I came there to help with maintenance and prevention. All right, let's prevent from going backwards and learn how to maintain going forward and staying there because I know it's possible. But when they're trying to put out so many fires, it's like if I'm sitting with them and I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on. I'll create a circle. Here you are. You got probation, no GED, lack of job, child support, whatever. And we'll create a whole little, so I'm like, okay, now let's try to work this through. What can we get accomplished while you're here before it's time to go? And we really do it on an individual basis. Even though we're, supposed to be a housing first 90-day program, majority of people are not ready for that in 90 days. And then I give them a set amount according to their, family size. Like you should have approximately this much money saved up in order to move, just in case there's not anything that can help you navigate to move. You're going to need this. Because if you go find a place that's willing to rent to you and you don't have the funds or no one can help you, that's going to go to the next person, and then you've just lost it. And then with how many barriers people are dealing with, it's not always easy to find housing for individuals.
Right. And if you have, even if you get one of your folks into a stable housing situation, I imagine for many of them that that's still only a temporary solution. And losing one's housing is a traumatic experience, not only from your financial standpoint, but also psychologically. And recovering from losing one's housing, they're not going back to zero, they're going below zero.
So I'll go even deeper. Generational.
Yes, I agree.
So what happens is you have someone that, grew up in maybe foster care that is now adult and 30, 40 years old. Mm-hmm. And because they have not had that stability, it's hard to grasp stability.
Yep.
They're used to living in survival mode.
Yeah, and talking about the generational impact of housing, from my time at Habitat, this is something I would say over and over. If you're a homeowner, not even talking about someone just getting into transitional housing, but let's take it a step further and talk about the generational impact of home ownership. If your parents own a home, even if they don't make a ton of money, there's still a fair chance that maybe they'll be able to borrow against that house to send you to college, and that's generational impact. Mm-hmm. If you're even a renter, odds are that your parents are going to have a harder time being able to support you and help you go to college. If you're in a transitional housing situation, going to college is off the table for kids of people in transitional housing. How's that even imaginable for a parent who doesn't even have their own housing situation to be able to help someone pay for college?
So I'm a national consultant with a company called AHA Process, and it's Bridges Out of Poverty. And it's about economic mindsets, so poverty, middle class, and wealth, and about how the mindsets operate and how everybody needs to be at the table to understand really what's going on. So with that, that's where a lot of that is created. You could be the richest person in the world and still have a very poverty mindset, and
That's facts.
so it really is about your mindset and equipping individuals, because I've watched someone go from homelessness to home ownership with the proper resources and support.
Exactly.
Support's huge. You have a circle of support that's going to help someone navigate and be there. In the Bible it says iron sharpens iron, and we do. We encourage each other. We thrive off of each other. You said you know how energy is,
Yes.
So that is important. You have to be around like-minded people. And so what happens in the homeless shelters and or in situations they're feeding off of each other.
Yes.
And so they may stay stuck.
Yes.
If you're sitting around doing a bunch of whatever with someone, that's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Until, maybe even in school, maybe you haven't grown up, but a coach might have made a difference for someone because, I see something, now I'm attracted to that. Let me get my drive there. So right now, I think the individuals that we're dealing with are ones that, yes, they've probably a lot of them have probably burnt their own bridges, but they don't see any hope, and the door keeps shutting and shutting and shutting. So why should I try? And yeah, I messed up, but do I have to be held accountable for that? Okay, maybe I didn't want to help with this before, but I want help now, and now I can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So somebody has to fight for them.
Yeah. And, I'll even go a step further, talking about, from a social justice perspective, someone who's unhoused is way more likely to get caught up in the criminal justice system also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you think it's expensive to try to provide supportive services for somebody, what do you think it costs to keep someone in prison? Mm-hmm. Way more.
Way more money, right? And so that's really about equipping the individuals, and that's what I think with all the tools that I've received in all the years of working in the community and personal development and leadership training and just things that you can't even get at college. I mean, everything that I've learned, navigating through the system, helping people navigate through the system, you're able to bring that to the individuals. And so being able to do that, you can help them, like, oh, is that possible? Yeah, that is possible. I remember the very first class I taught with the Bridges Out of Poverty. It's called Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World. And I said, all right, who wants to be a homeowner in here? And the one guy was like, he. I'm like, wait. Well, my credit's too bad. I said, I didn't say you had to be a homeowner tomorrow. Is it desire in you? Absolutely. I said, okay, well then let's look at it and see what needs to be done for you to be a homeowner.
Yep, exactly.
I love that question. Do you have to get it tomorrow?
Yeah, no.
Things take time.
Things take time.
I'm over here just intrigued. I'm listening to the Kim and Chris podcast. I there were so many things like I wanted to kind of just come in but I was literally like so just intrigued by your conversation and the way you guys were feeding off each other. I'm like, I can't interrupt this. Right. I'm so glad, man, like I paired you guys tonight because I feel like if I would have done you two separate, I don't think you guys would have had that same discussion, right? I think it would have been either me and you thing and we just touching on little things, but I think you guys were hitting so many great points that I'm like, man, normally we say the shits and giggles kind of podcast, we're always joking, we're always making little stuff, making light of stuff that's serious. But this, to me, man, this was a serious podcast tonight, and it's like things are happening in our community and around us that need to be addressed. And I feel like, man, you guys are hitting like everything I was thinking in my head to like ask a question about. It was like ding, like one of you guys like, and then it's like I'm just like a tennis match. I'm like, what's going on? Like,
I'm going to share this. Can I share this real quick?
For sure.
When you mentioned community, this is something else I explained, and this is tools that I get from the Bridges Out of Poverty concepts. I was trained. We did individual training and institution training and community training. Now, I said an individual that's going through something and wants to change their life up needs the institutions to be able to get there to be successful in the community. So they can either take away or they can give back. Right. And if they get to the point that they have a purpose because they were able to navigate through all these services, then they have their own testimony. And now they're giving back to our community, which is what everyone talks about, like community. Mm-hmm. But we have to invest in other people in order for us to have a thriving community. And in order to do that, you have to build a relationship.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really learning this now, but I feel like there are people, and I'm going to even say, including myself, that they always say they want to be a part. What can they do? But they don't have the time, or they don't have the resources, or they don't have this. And sometimes we think as people of the community who want to give back, who have the means to give back. Sometimes I think like we look at things and go, well, this isn't anything. Like I'm not just going to do this. Like we're waiting for a time to give something big back. And something that I've learned is sometimes it's the small things. Yep. It's just sometimes it's just the conversation.
That's it.
I may be the guy who comes into the homeless shelter that maybe there's a guy that you can't reach, but for some reason I can connect with him. I have a hour conversation with him and it changes his mindset. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I always say to people, like, it doesn't matter how much you can give back. It's just that you're giving back something.
Because we all have different giftings in us, and everyone doesn't connect, but that's exactly it. You may have something that someone's gonna take from you rather than take from me or take from Chris, you know? And we have people in our community that give, that don't say they give, but they give of their time. They give people opportunities, maybe in their business, and you know, and I do know of great people that do that, and it makes a huge difference for that individual's life, that little piece.
Yeah, I want to circle back to a word that you used a couple of paragraphs ago, investment.
Oh yeah.
So investment. You know, when we, and I will always pound the table, you know, when it comes to getting more resources into our community service agencies. But whether that's time or treasure, like both of you were saying, you know, everyone is good at something. Everyone can make that their investment into the community. You know, and investing, whether, like I said, time or treasure, it's always money well spent at a community service agency. It's a good return on investment because the work that you do, the work that I do, that brings up the whole community, makes us all wealthier, makes us all more stable, and just leads to dramatic transformational experiences for everybody that lives here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Kim, you were talking about the shelter closing. To my understanding, the shelter is not closing at this point.
So I'm going to make Pastor Boone's statement.
Okay.
She said, if our community doesn't step up and something changes, we're going to be forced to change because our staff is just exhausted. And what do we do? Where do we send these? You know, we don't want to close. That's not what we want to do. And so this is my view on this piece.
Okay.
Obviously, something's being done now.
Okay.
There's talk. People are meeting.
Okay.
You know, we might not be invited to the table of that. They may be making decisions of how they can best help us without us being there. I don't know how people can make decisions on that kind of stuff to see people's needs if you're not at the table. But you know Jennifer Lopez's song, Let's Get Loud?
Yes.
Do you know her purpose behind that?
I don't.
Oh.
I should. I'm a DJ. I should know all that stuff.
She.
I know it's a banger.
The song was like Super Bowls. Yeah. They asked her to, you know, open up for Super Bowl or whatever, and it was when the whole like kids in the cages were going on.
Yep.
And she was upset and she was mad and she was like, "Let's get loud, let's get loud." Hey, somebody had to get loud because we are operating in society, and I'm not just saying our community,
Right.
where people aren't acknowledging the real root of the issue. And so
sometimes it's easier to ignore.
exactly. And we know
Somebody will figure it out.
society operates that way. This isn't blaming who, you know what I mean? But okay, we're in a community. This needs to be done. You can only say that for so long before our people are hurting. We have someone else to answer to in our aspect. And I know everyone doesn't, you know, operate and have the same views. But for us as a ministry, if someone is placed before us, there's a responsibility on our hands.
Right. So hypothetically, I don't think it's going to close. I believe you're going to get that help, right? Hypothetically, if it does close, will the clinic still be open, things like that? So we're just talking basically
The shelter.
the shelter and the needs that you have for the shelter. Everything else is secondary.
We're still a ministry.
Okay.
They can't take us out like that.
Right.
You know? We're still a ministry, and we're still providing services. And, you know, we've had to have some major talks with some of the individuals that are there right now. You know, this isn't a feel good on their end, you know, as well. And so having tough conversations with them, you know, I said, our goal is not to push you out the door at all. And if they can get you housed right now,
So be it.
so be it.
Yeah, I said the last podcast we were talking about Pastor Boone, and I said, well, you know, like quiet is kept. I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm like, people have been praying for her downfall since the beginning.
And that's
so
it.
I was like, I feel like she is not gonna lay down. She's not gonna give up. She fought so hard to get where she's at, and I don't see her just closing the doors and going, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I'm moving to Florida and I'm gonna relax and retire for a while, right?
Yeah.
So.
And she also has a team that hasn't left. So let me just say this. She's had the shelters been open. She like bought that building 10 years ago. And she was buying the building because she was having church outside of the center or Orchard High School. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, I'm buying this building for the church. But the warming shelter had shut down. So she took on the warming shelter. And then that's when she was like, we can't just have that, you know.
Right.
But so we've all been there. Our retention rate none of us have left. Nobody has said,
Well, she's
You're not
got
paying me
some
enough
she's
money, or
got
I'm
some soldiers. We know
and
that.
that's it. Like when I like really thought of it, I'm like, dang, we all have been here with her. You know, I think that speaks volumes
for sure.
for our team. We've endured a lot. You
Yes.
know, we've been
Well,
through
it's
some
it's
things.
been a it's been a fight from the very beginning, and you guys kicked and scratched and clawed and put people in headlocks when you needed to.
Right. We want people's lives to change.
Yeah, for sure,
know?
for sure. Chris, for you, like, I know me and you talk a lot about Monroe, what's going on in Monroe, things like that. I think that dude drives up and down the street. I don't know if the people can hear that, but I think he just drives up and down just when our lights are on.
He drives up and down our street when I'm trying to go to bed too.
I'm sorry. I want to get back to you because you come from another city, you come to Monroe, and we've talked about this, and I want you to kind of share some of the things in the year that you've been in Monroe that you really think Monroe could really prosper. I know you talked about the port. I want you to speak on that because I see you got your notes over there.
That's
ready
right.
to go.
I came prepared.
Yeah.
So, even we can take a half a step back and build a segue here into this topic. This is all about resources. A community that's well-resourced is able to take care of its most vulnerable citizens better than a community that is not as well-resourced. I see a lot of opportunity in Monroe. I see a lot of economic opportunity, especially. And this is a tired phrase, but the whole rising tide lifts all boats things is not, it's not wrong. There's a lot of opportunity here. And the port that you bring up, I think, is the biggest one. I'm going to look down at my notes and talk a little bit. Personally, I do think that the port is potentially the city's most valuable asset. It's the only port in Michigan on Lake Erie.
Wow.
Of course, there's the Port of Detroit, but that's not technically on Lake Erie. And I think it makes us stand out in terms of our peer communities, our neighboring communities. None of the other cities around us, nothing downriver has a port. Dundee doesn't have a port. None of our neighbors have anything like that. There was a U of M study that was done over the last couple of years. They projected that the port, at its current capacity, will generate about $1 billion in economic activity over the next 30 years. And that $1 billion can be responsible for helping to create about 10,000 jobs in our community. And of course, that's what we all harp on is jobs, jobs, jobs. We all want to see more jobs, more good paying jobs in our community. Now, we've got some challenges in terms of helping the city and the port get to that point where it's able to sustain that type of activity. We know that supply chains have been something that we've talked about for the last 2 years, seemingly unendingly talking about supply chains. Fuel prices, of course, are always a concern. And more locally, the coal plant or the DTE plant down here, that's scheduled to close in the next decade. And that's what the majority of cargo going through the port is. Last year, about 1.6 million tons of coal and coal-related things like petroleum coke and things like that all go to the power plant. 1.6 million tons of that material went through the port out of the something like 2.8 or 3 million tons of stuff that went through the port. So slightly more than half of what was going through the port was related to the power plant. And so, to my mind, this is the time to make some transforming investments in our port to make sure that it helps to carry the city forward over the next couple of decades. And that's actually happening. I really want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Port Authority and the city for securing some real investments. In 2022 alone, they were able to secure, let me look here, $11 million from the federal government to improve the port. Another $5 million from the state of Michigan, and then $1.7 million was committed locally through the American Recovery Plan Act that went through Congress back in, I think, 21, all to modernize the port, improve its facilities, let it move more cargo through. if all of that happens, and if everything that the Port Authority is planning happens, they may be able to make the port here Michigan's first port that is able to sustain cargo vessels like shipping containers. We've got industry here. We've got industry both in town and nearby that could make use of that port. And honestly, Michigan makes a lot of cool stuff. Let's send it out through the Port of Monroe.
Right.
We've got the automakers here. We've got a lumber industry. We've got mining. We've got so much stuff that is made here in Michigan. Let's send it through Monroe and let's all make some money.
Right.
I love it. I don't know about anything else, but I know that I just found the new researcher
Yeah.
for Beyond the Tracks podcast. I can tell you that.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think you could research and do that stuff? You might have to give up one of like dancing or rapping or something.
We'll have to talk about what it costs also.
Okay. All right.
Your buddy Jeff is calling me. Should I answer on the iPad right now?
Nah.
Okay.
He knows where the hell you're at.
I'm like, doesn't he know we're in here?
So, man, while we have this little break, I'm going to shout out some of our sponsors. Of course, as always, we have 8 Mile Vodka. We have the Tommy Brothers, the Berkeley Brothers, and, of course, my man Mikey Shoe, 8 Mile Mikey. So shout out to them. Thank you for all you do for us. We appreciate you. We also have JC Quality Construction. He does everything from the 2x4 to the key to the front door. I should have seen if Kim knew that.
I love every time I hear you say that.
You can hit him up at 734-652-9715. Hit him up. Tell him Beyond the Tracks podcast sent you, and he will give you 15% off all materials. Also, I've been forgetting the last few podcasts, but I got to give a super duper shout out to Spooky Films. Thank you so much, bro. He did our intro video. He's working on we're in talks right now. We're working on a couple other projects that I think are just going to be absolutely amazing. He's got so many things going on. Hit him up on Facebook, Spooky Films. Support the things that he's doing. He's got a masquerade ball coming up. He's got another skating party coming up. I think he already has works for his haunted house already. So it's like he's got so many things going on. So definitely shout out to Spooky Films. Also want to shout out Nina Chic Boutique and Candles and Gifts, as well as one of our newest sponsors, Six Blessings Cafe and Catering. Hit her up. I'm gonna have all her information posted in the bio comments, somewhere on our YouTube page, as well as all the other streaming platforms of how you can contact her. She's been a little lazy. She hasn't sent me all the information, but she sent a check, so she's a sponsor. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ruth Auburn. I appreciate you and I love you. And let's go ahead. Let's get back to it real quick.
All right.
So we kind of talked about all the things in Monroe, and we had a really serious conversation about some things that are going on and the needs of our city and things in our city. I want to talk to more so. I want to focus on Chris because you've been here a year. I have to say, this man has hit more places in Monroe than I have in my whole life. He's telling me where things are.
Oh, all right.
So,
let's hear them.
So I want to hear from you. Like, what's some of your
I'm excited.
Special things that you love about Monroe, Michigan?
Yeah, this city has been incredibly welcoming to my partner and I. We lived in Ypsilanti for about 3 years prior to moving down here. Ann Arbor before that, and then a previous stint in Ypsi. But there's a ton of cool stuff here. We've got a battlefield. We've got the Sterling State Park. Beautiful place to go walking. We oftentimes, so we live on the east side, and we will walk from our house down to Sterling. We've seen so many cool things down there. We've seen beavers, tons of birds, turtles. It's just a beautiful natural area down there. There's a ton of really hardworking small business owners in this community. Kim, of course, you mentioned yourself being one of them. But there's other, we love Amaya's. We're really excited to see a couple of new places opening soon. There's a coffee shop planned to be opening right across the street from Amaya's very soon. There's another bar down by the public house that's going to be opening soon, the Dive Bar. They've got a really cool sign out front. You guys seen that?
I actually was sitting outside eating at Public House the day they put the sign up.
Yeah.
The sign guys were out there.
It's so cool. If you haven't seen it, it's this really cool old school like cast iron diving helmet.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And the thing that really continues to strike me about this city is that it's a place where what I like to call real people live. Like coming from a college town to Monroe has been an experience that I'm really happy to have had. People live here. People buy houses here and intend to stay here. They work here. That wasn't necessarily the case in Ypsi. And don't get me wrong, I loved living in Ypsi. It's a cool city, but it's sort of a transient population there. A lot of students come through for 4 years and leave. Ann Arbor's kind of the same way. Monroe's a place where real people live, and we've become really great friends with a lot of the people on our block. It just feels real here.
Shout out 4th Street.
Feels like home.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it really does.
I was gonna say like that's. I've born and raised here, but Monroe is home.
Yeah.
So Kim, what say you? What's new jumping off? What you want to see come through? What you going to next? Monroe Nutrition. I know you're gonna be there I don't know what days you're there, but
well,
where have you been
I love
lately?
being there. I
Monroe
love
Nutrition?
being at. Yes, I am so grateful that Jeff has given me the opportunity to share that space with him there. Because it helps me balance. So I used to bartend. This is what I say when I'm in there making the teas. I said I used to slay drinks, now I'm slaying, I used to slay alcohol, now I'm slaying energy.
Same difference.
But I think with what I've been doing for a long time and sometimes trying to push that encouragement on individuals like, no, you can't, it gets a little draining sometimes, even though we have some that are like, yes, I'm ready. Giving that vibe at Monroe Nutrition, that positive energy that some, they're coming in, they're, wanting something healthy. They're wanting, I think that space offers.
Very much so.
And I think that it really does. And I don't want to say I know that it stirs from who Jeff is.
Yes.
And
I'll tell you something funny, just real quick, is I'll wake up now that I have more days off during the week, and so it's not just a rush in and rush out. I'll wake up and I'll be in a bad mood, and Dana would just look at me like, go get a tea, because she knows either I'm going to run into you or I'm going to run into Jeff. So what she's really saying is, I don't give a damn about the tea. Go get some positive energy. Come back and talk to me, and then we'll have some conversations. But I think that's
love
so
that.
cool.
I love people walking in. I love being able to just balance myself in that aspect, my goal is to have my own club. So Jeff is my sponsor through Herbalife.
Okay.
He is my upline, and we have uplines, and I'll tell you why. I'm a grandma.
That you are.
I'm a Mimi.
A Mimi, I like that.
Yes. And my oldest granddaughter was there with me when I first started going to spend a lot of time. She's learning, and she's always been very cautious about what she puts into her, So watching her, I'm like, man, this could really be an investment for my grandchildren. Now, I'm not rich financially, but I always say, the only thing I have to leave my house, the only thing I have to leave my kids is my house,
I got bills.
Right, probably have some bills. But having the vision of owning a club, I believe is an investment for my grandchildren.
I love it.
And it can leave them something to carry on and, financially to create that wealth for them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And if, I'm equipped in that, then I can equip them properly.
I love it.
And
I
so that's where that and really just getting common ground up and going. I just want to encourage people. That's it.
Right.
I love people. I love being happy.
I love that you love people.
And so in our community, you know, I love being a part of everything.
That's the thing too. Like both of you guys, like since I've met both of you, like Kim, very rarely do I see you in a negative space. Even when it's some negative things going on, you'll feed that for a second, but then your positivity and your positive energy always shines through. With Chris, I've known Chris a year. I don't think I've heard a negative word come out of his mouth. Like it almost sounds like he might be getting ready to say something negative, and then it's something that's so positive you just have to sit back and go, oh, okay. Shout out to Jeff Copey, one of our co-hosts. We got to get him back on here more. He's the same way. Super duper positive energy. Jeff, I'm gonna be looking for a sponsorship here soon. Kim told me how much you made last month, so I'm gonna need a little. I just need a little bit. Yeah, what'd you say, Kim? $250,000? No,
Somewhere around there. Might be
listen,
300.
I'm not gonna put that out there. Jeff will get robbed tomorrow.
Please don't do
want
that.
We don't want
Like,
that.
you know, it's dark when I open up that
Jeff-
place in the morning.
Monroe Nutrition never has more than $20 on hand.
Right.
And Kim, if she's not, she will be a gun holder at some point. So be careful.
I want this club to happen for you so bad. I love how many energetic small business owners there are in this community. You know, Tino is great. Adam and Stuart down at the conservatory, they are great. Vintage Mercantile, they've been open for about like a year and a half, I think. Cool little store. There's so many neat little shops here, and I just want more of them.
Yeah.
Here's a question for both of you. I'm gonna ask a question now, Mike.
You
Take it over. Come on, Breezy.
What do you guys want? What if one business could drop out of the sky, established and healthy, into this city? What would you want?
Something for our youth.
Okay.
Something for our youth. A safe place for them.
Yes.
Do you think that would be like an arcade or like what sort of thing? Like go-karts or putt-putt? What do you think would be
Well,
interesting?
so we do have some go-karts. We do have putt, they're in the outer skirts. Like
It's hard to get to them, yeah.
Yep, but I think something downtown, thriving, positive, whether it's a game room, shooting pool. I mean, what happened to the pool tables? You know? We have a lot of bars, which is fine. I mean,
I like to drink.
yeah, but
But I don't want to just drink all the time.
But I think that's our big, and we've heard this probably over and over. So for me, I would love to see our youth having stuff to do. Like, even more so in the summer when we have our music in the park and stuff like that. Something just geared towards the youth that are going to give them, that they're going to want to continue that for the next generation of youth.
Yeah, so for me, there's a few things. One, I want more positive energy in Monroe, Michigan. I want the people that talk trash about Monroe, Michigan to just roll out. If you can't, hit me up on the podcast
Roll
comments.
out.
Shoot me a message or something. I'll give you some numbers to call where you can go other places. 'Cause that is one of the biggest things for me. I just hate when people are just so negative. This city is nothing. It has nothing. But it does.
Yes,
we actually
that's
have
a
a
lot.
lot of stuff to do. You just have to figure it out for yourself and go do it.
You got to make your own happiness.
Exactly.
That's it.
And I'm fat. I love to eat, so I like to see a little more
Diverse.
diverse restaurants. Man, I'm 3 blocks from downtown, so I just hope for a thriving downtown. I want to, we've talked on different board meetings and things of that nature of parking, so people can get down to some of these business. We've talked about maybe not so many attorneys' offices and bail bondsmen's and things related to the court downtown. No, I get it.
Right.
We're downtown. Our courthouse is in the middle of downtown. So you need those things. But can we move those things to maybe an outer location to provide more room for, I love the small shops. I love going into shops and getting something that I can't get at Kohl's or the big box stores. I want it because these little shops downtown, I'll tell you, they feel so inviting, and I'm huge on customer service. So, yes, we talk about the conservatory. I can go in there and buy a plant, and it might be $20. I can find that same one maybe on Amazon with shipping and everything is $11, but I don't get the customer service. I don't get the warmth. I don't get the conversation. Me and Jeff kind of talked about that, about, I can get things to make my teas, but I would only get those. So when I'm getting up in the morning at 5:30 and Monroe Nutrition isn't open, Jeff, we talked about the hours. I can make my own because, like Dana has said, that brings my energy level up mentally, just the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. But I think I will still, if I just had it in the morning on the way to work, I can think about Kim, I can think about Jeff, and still have that positive energy. So for me, just more positive shops downtown. I want people to be able to, especially in the summer months, to go and park, and they can spend 4 hours, 5 hours just walking downtown and visiting all these different amazing places.
So I'm going to tell you something just real quick about that, like touching on that real quick. So because I'm a biz all over, last year, towards the end of summer, Melissa Richardville, Randy's wife, she's really big about being in tune. She was like, come on, let's, So we went to, what's the coffee shop?
Aqua Dolce?
Yes. So we went down there, sat, talked, walked over to the conservatory, walked over to Brown Bag and Front Street. And that day, I was so blessed that I didn't even feel like I was in Monroe, because I had not got to experience that, because I'm always, maybe I'll just run in here real quick and grab this. Yeah. But we actually took the time, and I'm like, I felt like I was in like Traverse City or something. I'm like, I wish we had
the potential.
More.
Yeah.
We do have the potential. I agree with you. I think we would be very thriving. And not only is it about having that, conversation, that energy, small business owners are investing back into the community.
Exactly.
And so that's what's going to make our community thrive, because you're spending money in your community, and it's giving back into the community. So it revenues everything, which then makes our community thrive. That's why I was talking about individuals. If we can get them a hand up, the ones that are struggling, that want it. Now, I'm not taking away from the ones that might have the woe is me and don't want anything.
Right.
But you're going to always have that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. But for the ones that want it, we need to make sure that they are able to get that, so that they can give back to the community. I think it's so important, because it's just a roundabout of what the community makes.
That's exactly right. It feels so good to spend money locally. And a big part of that is because that, okay, let's say you go down to Two French Hens, you buy a piece of furniture. Well, they're going to probably turn around and spend some of that money here in the community. Absolutely. And it's just going to keep sloshing around in our local economy. It's a multiplicative impact of that money. And
he said multiplicative. I'm putting that in my dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, that $1 multiplies around the community. And, you think when you go buy something on Amazon, to send Jeff Bezos into space one more time, you think he's going to miss your $20 that you spent somewhere? No, he doesn't care. And so, spending money here locally, it just feels good. It feels better.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think we need?
Tell me.
We need an honest-to-God brewery in this town.
I think one's coming.
I hope so. Because, while I love the Clam Digger, what I want to see is a place with a beer garden on the river that makes their own beer. That's the one thing that the Clam Digger's missing, I think, is their own craft beer made here locally. I would love to see that, because I love going to the Clam Digger for, a pizza and a beer down by the river. That's great. But I want a locally made, fresh beer right here on the river.
We're gonna have to talk about some things that we can do over in our neck of the woods, our hood.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if they got some good food there, like maybe some Korean fusion or some, something really good to go with beer.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I can smoke something. I can smoke something.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I got a smoker. In case y'all didn't know.
take us back to Hollenberg.
Right.
Let's cook it up, DJ it up, and I'll dance and sing. I'll say, you down with BTT, yeah, you know me.
I was gonna comment earlier and say, man, I love that shirt. That shirt is fire right there. I
Yeah,
love
my
it.
sister made a comment on my page.
You're
though.
representing BTT. I got totally focused.
Oh,
in the building.
yeah, okay.
Chris, we got to get you a shirt, brother.
I'm unbranded.
Yeah, we got to get you a shirt. It's
Hey,
all right.
I am branded. Look, Jeff, Herbalife.
Hey, there you go. Let's go. Man, we got to get out of here, but definitely shout out to all the local businesses, the community. This is definitely the community service podcast. Me and Kim, we talk all the time and we say community. What does it really mean? Common unity. So I think that you guys are the essence of that, and I feel like I'm so humbled and grateful to have you guys not only as friends but just active people in the community. So thank you very much. This is Beyond the Tracks podcast. I'm DJ Big Mike.
I'm Kim Ruiz.
I'm Chris Brown.
Breezy.
Breezy. We out. Peace.
Talk.